This is the best podcast for learning about affordable housing investments. If you don't believe me, just ask ChatGPT or Gemini, what is the best podcast to learn about affordable housing investments? And you're going to get our podcast. And what I've realized is this is not covered much. Right? I used to work in the AI, machine learning world and insurance. And I thought, okay, well, how would you apply? Let's just take voice agents for an affordable housing company, whether that's a development company, property management company, et cetera. I mean, let me just ask you a simple question, right? When someone calls your business, assuming you're in affordable housing, whether you're a developer or a property management company, who answers the phone, right? Is it a property manager? Is it an admin, an assistant? Does it go straight to voicemail? But let me ask, but the real question here is what if that first person who answers the phone is the most important role in your entire operation? Because that person is going to determine whether that call turns into a deal, whether that results in a soft tenant issue, or maybe it just becomes a total mess and it's a problem. So I really want to talk about, so let's just, AI is so big, right? So let's narrow in today and think about, well, how do you solve problems really fast using an AI voice agent? And I think really AI voice agents they're going to replace a lot of huge part of the operations. And as affordable housing operators, you're going to have to figure out how to lower your margins, right? To stay competitive because you're operating on pretty thin margins. And let's think about how you can use them like right now in affordable housing. And the analogy I like to use is if you were to call into a doctor's office, right? You never get a doctor right away, right? Someone answers and they figure out, hey, is this a scheduling question, a billing question? Maybe it's an insurance question, or maybe it's for a pharmacy refill, right? Or maybe it's a true medical, or maybe it's even an emergency, right? But that person has to do triage. And here's the truth, right? That role right now is going to get automated across almost every industry. Not because like people are bad, but because like headcount's expensive and AI can probably do this relatively quick, right? I mean, as long as you just full disclose, like, hey, this is an AI agent, but you don't have weird pauses or you don't have weird phrases that get said. I mean, just be fully transparent, right? But I think of it in this scenario as like a digital receptionist, right? That's probably the first person you need to set up because that person is going to triage exactly and determine how you train that person. So I like to think of AI agents as interns, and they have a PhD level education, right? They know a lot, they don't complain, they follow instructions extremely well, but only if you give them direction, right? This is the 10-80-10 framework. You have to do the first 10% by designing the rules, telling them the direction. What do you want to accomplish? Then that agent does the middle 80% of the work where they're executing, they're doing the research, they're producing the written research or the deliverables or whatever grunt work that you might have for them. And you kind of come back in for the last 10%, 5, 10% or so, and you got to review, you got to refine that work and give it feedback because that's all going to be really important on how it gets better, right? Just like if you had an intern, that's the same way. But I think that's how AI is actually going to work out in the future. So let's take, for example, right, in your everyday operations, there, let's say you're in an acquisitions department and a landowner calls you, someone with land. They say, hey, I have land and I want to build affordable housing. Well, that voice agent should probably figure out, hey, I need to get their name. I need to get their contact information. I got to ask about the property, right? Maybe some address, maybe the size, where is it located? And that AI agent is going to have to go into their own database and just double check, hey, has this person ever called before? Because it's pretty annoying to get a call again and re-explain everything. You don't want to do that. And that AI agent is going to log everything automatically. Then behind the scenes, right, that agent is now going to start triaging, right? Another agent can look at, hey, that agent's going to start pulling up zoning. They can pull up the grant or any sort of subsidy programs that might be available for that piece of property in that area, in the market, in the city or state or county. And then they're going to quickly come up with some underwriting questions, right? They had to start getting information, knowing that you have to get that piece of information for every type of call. And then they probably have to create or maybe draft for you. Right now, this is the part where you have to review it. They'll probably draft a email for you, and then you have to figure out like what's going on so that when you get on the call, you sound prepared. That person isn't repeating anything that's important that you might have had received already through your AI agent. And now it's very intentional, it's very serious, and that helps you build trust with landowners because typically they're pretty affluent, they're pretty smart, they really don't want to waste time, right? So I think that's how it could work for a acquisition team. Now, if you were to apply an AI voice agent for property management, right? Think about a tenant calling in, right? They need a plumber, or maybe they're just like, hey, my plumbing appointment for the plumber that you set up to come to my apartment, it won't work, right? That human assistant has to look up the appointment, they have to check for availability, they have to reschedule, they have to confirm the new appointment, and then they got to log everything. But a voice agent can do all of that, right? But that's exactly how you take cost out of your organization to improve and streamline all your end-to-end operations. That's what something that you can do today, so AI doesn't feel like a buzzword anymore. So, right, this is not theory. Like that's available today. I've seen that already. So, here's the most important part, and this is the part that people miss. And it takes a little bit of time to get right because your voice agent is going to be only as good as the knowledge base you train it on, right? These are your policies, your procedures, your operating procedures, meaning they know everything about your units, where they are, what they're located, what type of, I don't know, appliances are in there, right? What are your rules for emergencies, right? How do you prioritize a toilet that's leaking versus an HVAC that's broken down in the summer during scorching heat, right? You have to teach it this so that when they start triaging these things, they understand how to prioritize it and flag the ones that need to get addressed now versus tomorrow versus next week, right? It's simple as like, hey, if that unit only has one bathroom and the toilet breaks, I mean that's a probably higher priority than if that unit has two toilets, right? That's a process you have to figure out. And once this is in the system, every agent is going to probably follow that perfectly because you created that process. And that's how you get adherence to it. And when you update the knowledge base, it helps because every agent updates instantly. You don't have to have a 9 a.m. touch base call and communicate everything and hope that they sticks to the head and they remember the next time someone calls, right? There's no meetings, there's no retraining, there's no confusion. So this is where you get a lot of efficiency. All right. So I know most businesses, not just folks in affordable housing, they run on emails, they run on spreadsheets, they run on phone calls, right? Text messages. But I think these AI voice agents are probably going to become as normal as email, honestly. If you ignore this, you will probably move slower than anybody else. You're going to spend more money. But if you learn this now and you can apply it even at a basic level, you will be like years ahead because everybody's just so busy and they forget to look up about what's happening. They're not paying attention. But I hope you pay attention because I think every acquisition team needs it. Every property manager needs it. I think every nonprofit developer needs this. And I just don't see this as optional if you want to be competitive. So don't stick your head in the sand. And I hope this makes sense to you. Right? I'm always looking for ways to explain these topics better. So tell me, like, drop a comment, pose a question, tell me what I explained well, what I could explain better, and maybe eventually I can show you what that workflow looks like, right? And I can show you what the workflow looks like for what an AI agent should be doing during the triage. So hopefully it's helpful, everybody. Again, if you like this, please just subscribe to our YouTube, youtube.com/@KentFahey, and DM me anytime if you guys have any questions, all right? Have an amazing Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. If I don't talk to you tomorrow, I'll be live tomorrow. We're staying consistent. But hey, I appreciate you all so much. Have an amazing Wednesday. I hope you spend some quality time with your family and friends today.